They say if you do your job well enough, you become indispensable. They lied. If you do your job well enough, you become invisible. I've spent 5 years being the ghost of this consultancy. I built the systems, I saved the clients, and I trained the future of the firm, Noah. I gave him every secret I had, thinking I was a mentor. Yesterday, they rewarded me by making him my boss. He's making double my salary to supervise the woman who taught him how to open a spreadsheet. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the way they looked at me in that meeting, like I was a piece of office furniture that had finally been replaced by a newer model. I walked out of that building feeling like I had been erased. I ended up at a networking gala, standing in a gold-paneled elevator with a man who looked like he owned the city. I was so broken, so beyond caring about professional decorum, that when he asked a simple question, I let the mask slip. I didn't just tell him about the job. I told him how it feels to build a kingdom and be told you're not even allowed in the throne room. I thought he was just a stranger in a nice suit. I thought it was just a 60-second vent. I was wrong. By the time the doors opened on the 40th floor, I had accidentally handed a loaded gun to the one man who could pull the trigger on my entire company. But to understand how I ended up in that elevator, how I went from mentor to ghost, you need to see where it all started. 6 months earlier, on a Tuesday in July, when they brought him to my desk and asked me to build my own replacement. Noah arrived on a Tuesday in July, the day the AC broke on the east side of the building and the office smelled like hot plastic and reheated fish. Sandra brought him to my desk at 9:47 a.m., mid-call with Davidson's team. "Freya, this is Noah Chen," she said, a hand on his shoulder. "You'll be his guide." He smiled. Perfect teeth, an expensive suit, shoes so new they'd never walked anywhere that mattered. I shook his hand, firm, rehearsed, and pointed to the chair beside my desk. He sat, pulled out a moleskin, clicked his pen twice. Polished, eager, empty. I took that as a challenge. The first weeks, I taught him the systems, the real ones, how to pull files without corrupting timestamps, which templates actually worked, how to avoid Mrs. Chen's 4-paragraph emails by giving her 24 hours notice. He took meticulous notes. "You're really good at this," he said once, watching me rebuild a broken report in minutes. "You just have to know where the breaks are," I told him. "Everything has them." He underlined that. I felt something I hadn't in months. Purpose, like I was building someone. By week 3, I was teaching him people. "Everyone has a different operating system," I said, scrolling through client emails. "Your job is to learn the code." "That's brilliant," he said. He wrote it down word for word. The quick meetings started in August, 10 minutes here, 15 there. Noah began getting pulled in without me. We didn't want to bother you, just needed Noah's input on some strategic direction. Strategic? After 8 weeks? Noah was apologetic, said he mentioned ideas we'd discussed, gave me credit. I told myself I was being paranoid. The first theft was small. On a call with Barton Industries, I passed Noah a note. Ask about fuel surcharges on the Dallas route. I'd spent days finding the issue, double billing on routes that didn't exist. He leaned into the camera. "I think we need to dig into fuel surcharges, especially Dallas. Something's off." The client loved it, called him sharp. I gave him a thumbs up off camera. That's what mentors do, let them lead. Right? By October, Noah had become my shadow. He walked like me, talked like me, tapped his pen twice before starting a report. People stopped asking for me. "Is Noah around?" Noah said he'd handle this. I fixed what he left unfinished, redirected questions, covered gaps. He sent grateful messages. "Couldn't do this without you." I told myself that was enough. In November, the office lights hummed at 9 p.m. I was alone, finishing the Kellerman proposal, a 3-year deal that could define a quarter. 2 weeks of late nights, a missed wedding, cold coffee beside my keyboard. But it was perfect. I emailed the final draft, CC'd Noah. Finished. Let me know if you see anything I missed. I leaned back and caught my reflection in the black screen, hair twisted up, coffee stain on my collar, exhausted, but proud. Tomorrow was the all hands. Maybe they'd notice. Maybe they'd finally see what I'd built. I turned off my lamp and walked to the elevator in the dark. I didn't know it yet, but that woman on the screen, the tired, hopeful one, was about to be shattered because Monday morning wasn't coming with good news. It was coming with a massacre. The fishbowl conference room was freezing. They always kept it cold, something about the glass walls retaining heat, but that Monday it felt arctic. I sat 3 chairs down from the head of the table, hands folded in my lap, watching my breath almost fog in front of me. The all hands didn't start on time. It never did. People filtered in slowly, clutching coffee cups, making small talk. Through the glass walls, I could see the rest of the office pretending not to watch. Sandra came in first, beaming, then the managing director, Martin Cross, a man who'd spoken to me exactly twice in 5 years. He was smiling too. That should have been my first warning. "Thanks for coming, everyone," Sandra started, her voice bright and sharp. "We have some really exciting news to share today." The projector flickered on behind her. "As you know, we've been investing heavily in our emerging talent pipeline, and today I'm thrilled to announce a promotion that reflects our commitment to innovation and leadership." My stomach tightened. Noah Chen is being promoted to Senior Operations Manager, effective immediately. The room erupted in polite applause, the kind of applause that's more obligation than celebration. I brought my hands together. Once, twice. The sound disappeared into the noise. Martin stepped forward, his hand on Noah's shoulder. "Noah's done exceptional work this year. His system optimization project alone has saved us hundreds of hours, and his client retention strategies, particularly with our legacy accounts, have been nothing short of transformative." My system optimization, my client retention, my words coming out of Martin's mouth, credited to someone else. The projector slide changed. Senior Operations Manager, salary $140,000. The number glowed in the dark room like a neon accusation. $140,000. Double mine, for a role I'd been told last year, when I asked about advancement, didn't have the budget. The floor fell away beneath me, not literally, but the sensation was there, weightless, sickening, like missing a step in the dark. My ears rang, a high-pitched hum that drowned out whatever Martin was saying next. Something about the future of the firm, something about leadership potential. I looked at Noah. He wasn't looking at Martin. He was looking at me, not with guilt, with pity. That was worse than anything. The meeting ended. Chairs scraped. People stood, shook Noah's hand, murmured congratulations. Someone laughed, a bright, genuine sound that felt obscene. Noah crossed the room toward me. "Freya," he said quietly, leaning down, "I couldn't have done this without you." Like he was tipping a waitress. I smiled. "Congratulations." He squeezed my shoulder and walked away. I caught Sandra in the hallway. "Can we talk?" She turned, her smile still in place, but her eyes already defensive. "Of course. What's up?" I kept my voice steady, professional. "I'm surprised I wasn't consulted about this. Noah's only been here 6 months. And he's done incredible work in that time. Work I trained him to do." Sandra's smile tightened. "Freya, don't be like that. You're a vital part of the support system here. But Noah has that leadership spark, you know?" She tilted her head, her tone softening into condescension. "You're the engine. He's the driver." The engine, hidden under the hood, doing all the work, never seen. Right. I said. I knew you'd understand. She patted my arm. You're such a team player. I went back to my desk. The office was loud with post-meeting chatter. Someone had brought donuts to celebrate. Noah was surrounded by people, laughing, modest, gracious. I sat down, opened my computer, stared at the screen. 5 years of data, 80-hour weeks, nights and weekends, proposals and systems and client relationships built from nothing. All of it packaged up and handed to a 24-year-old who didn't even know the password to the legacy server. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I opened a new email, typed to all staff, subject line blank, body blank. The cursor blinked. I sat there, staring at it, feeling something cold and clarifying settle in my chest. They thought I was the engine. Fine, let's see how far they get when the engine stops running. They thought I was the engine, hidden, invisible, essential but replaceable. Fine, let's see how far they get when the engine stops running. Tuesday morning, I sent the email that changed everything. I sent the email at 9:07 a.m. on Tuesday to all staff. Subject, updated workflow parameters. Body, effective immediately. My workflow will be realigned to strictly reflect my contractual job description and compensation level. I will no longer be providing mentorship, management training, systems oversight, or technical consultation for roles operating above my pay grade. For strategic guidance or management-level decisions, please direct all inquiries to the appropriate department leads. Best regards, Freya Moss, Operations Analyst. I read it 3 times before hitting send. No exclamation points, no emotion, just cold corporate clarity. The ping echoed across the office. Then silence. The kind of silence that happens when everyone reads the same thing at the same time and no one knows how to react. I went back to my spreadsheet. Basic data entry, the kind of work that actually matched my job title. Noah appeared at my desk at 9:17. He was holding a file folder, the Kellerman account, one of my legacy clients. His hands were shaking slightly. Hey, Freya, quick question. I didn't look up. I'm prepping for the Kellerman follow-up call, and I'm not sure about the invoice reconciliation structure they use. You set that up, right? I stopped typing, looked at him. That falls under management strategy, Noah. As senior operations manager, that's your responsibility now. I smiled. I'm sure you've got it. His face went pale. Right. Yeah, of course. I just thought since you have the history. The history is documented in the client folder, page 14, I think, or 15. Right. He shifted his weight. Thanks. He didn't move. I put my headphones on and went back to typing. He stood there for another 5 seconds, then walked away. Sandra appeared at 10:32. Freya, my office now. The glass-walled HR room was colder than the fishbowl. She closed the door behind us and crossed her arms. What was that email? A clarification of my responsibilities. It was unprofessional. It was contractual. Sandra's jaw tightened. You're being difficult. You're hurting the team. We're a family here, Freya. I reached into my bag, pulled out a printed copy of my original employment contract, 5 years old, coffee-stained at the corner. I set it on the desk between us. This is my salary, I pointed, $68,000. This, I pulled out the screenshot of Noah's promotion slide, is Noah's salary, $140,000. I looked up at her. If we're a family, Sandra, I'm clearly the Cinderella, and the ball is over. Her face flushed. You're being childish. I'm being equitable. If my contributions were worth senior manager compensation, I should have been offered senior manager compensation. If they weren't, then I shouldn't be expected to perform senior manager duties. You're making this very difficult. I'm making this very clear. She stared at me. I didn't blink. Fine, she said finally, but don't expect any goodwill from leadership moving forward. Noted. I left her office and went back to my desk. The client call came at 2:14 p.m. Mrs. Chen. I saw Noah's calendar alert pop up on the shared screen. He grabbed his headset, straightened his tie, took a breath. I watched from my desk. The call started fine, pleasantries, small talk about the weather. Then Mrs. Chen asked about the Q4 projections. Noah pulled up the file, one of my templates, started walking through the numbers. And if you look at page 4, he said, you'll see the adjusted revenue forecast. Page 4? Mrs. Chen's voice went sharp. Why is the revenue forecast on page 4? Noah froze. I thought it made sense to build context first. I don't need context, Mr. Chen. I need projections. First page, always. Right, of course. Let me just... Are you new to this account? No, ma'am. I've been overseeing it for... Where is Freya? Silence. Noah looked across the office at me, his eyes desperate. I put on my noise-canceling headphones, turned back to my spreadsheet. At 4:59 p.m., I packed my bag. The office was still full, people hunched over laptops, phones pressed to ears, the low hum of stress filling the air. Noah's office light was on. Through the glass, I could see him buried in files, his hair disheveled, his tie loosened. He looked terrified. He caught my eye as I stood. I gave him a small, professional nod. Then I walked to the elevator. My heels clicked against the tile, steady, rhythmic, final. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. For the first time in 5 years, I was leaving on time. But as the doors closed and the floor dropped away beneath me, I didn't feel victorious. I felt like a ghost, visible only in my absence. I'd drawn the line, but I had no idea what came next. Because Thursday night, I had to attend the one place where my professional ghost would be on full display, the industry gala I'd committed to months ago, back when I still thought I had a future at the firm. The black dress hung on the back of my bedroom door like an accusation. I'd bought it 3 months ago, back when I still thought I had a future at the firm, back when I imagined wearing it to celebrate my own promotion, the one Sandra said wasn't in the budget. Now it just looked expensive and wrong. I put it on anyway, zipped it up, stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from something deeper, the kind of exhaustion that comes from being erased in real time. I painted on a face, concealer, lipstick, blush to fake the warmth I didn't feel. By the time I finished, I looked competent, professional, successful. I looked like a liar. The venue was the kind of place that made you feel poor just walking through the doors. Marble floors, gold leaf on the crown molding, a chandelier the size of a car hanging in the lobby. The air smelled like expensive perfume and ambition. I checked my coat, pinned on my name tag, stepped into the ballroom. A sea of suits, laughter, the clinking of crystal glasses. Everyone looked the same, polished, confident, successful. I felt like I was fading into the wallpaper. A woman I vaguely recognized from a conference 2 years ago waved at me. "Freya, how's the firm?" "Good," I said. "Busy." "Aren't we all?" She laughed and moved on. I grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing tray and took a sip. It tasted like nothing. Then I saw him, Noah, standing under the chandelier, holding a scotch, laughing with a group of senior partners I'd been trying to get in front of for 2 years. He looked like he belonged. I looked like a ghost watching someone else live my life. A man in a navy suit approached me, senior partner at a rival firm. I recognized him from his LinkedIn photo. He glanced at my name tag. "Oh, you're with Noah Chin's team, right?" "Noah Chin's team. I work at the same firm," I said carefully. "Great kid, really sharp. He spoke very highly of your support work, said you've been instrumental in getting him up to speed." Support work. The words hit like a slap. I smiled, the kind of smile that makes your face ache. That's kind of him. "Well, keep up the good work. The industry needs strong support staff." He walked away. I stood there, champagne glass in hand, feeling the room tilt slightly. Even here, even among my peers, I'd been rebranded. Not an architect, not a strategist, support staff. I couldn't breathe. The room was too loud, too bright, too full of people who didn't see me. I put the glass down on a table, walked toward the hallway, past the ballroom, past the murmur of voices and the clinking glasses and the performance of success. I needed air, or silence, or to leave. The elevator bank was empty. I pressed the button. The chime sounded. The doors slid open. Gold-paneled, soft lighting, quiet. I stepped inside. For a moment, I was alone. Then, just as the doors began to close, a hand stopped them. A man stepped in. And in the next 40 floors, I would tell a complete stranger the truth I'd been hiding from everyone else. The elevator was quiet. Not silent. There was the hum of machinery, the soft whoosh of movement, but quiet in a way that felt like permission. I leaned against the gold-paneled wall and closed my eyes. The man who'd stopped the doors stood on the opposite side. I could feel him there, a solid presence in my peripheral vision. He didn't pull out his phone, didn't check his watch, just stood there. The air smelled different. Cedarwood, expensive leather, something crisp like winter air after the first snow. It was the smell of someone who didn't have to shout to be heard. I let out a breath. Not a sigh exactly, more like a laugh that had forgotten how to be funny. "That bad?" he said. "Or just that boring?" I opened my eyes. He was looking at me, actually looking, not through me, not past me, at me. 50 maybe. Salt and pepper hair, sharp jawline, a suit that fit like it had been made specifically for his body. But it was his eyes that stopped me. Intelligent, patient, like he had all the time in the world and was choosing to spend it here. "I just realized," I said slowly, "that I spent 5 years building a throne for a man who doesn't know how to sit in it." His mouth curved. Not quite a smile. "That's poetic. That's pathetic." The elevator climbed. 12th floor, 15th. "What happened?" he asked. I should have deflected, given some corporate non-answer, but I was so tired of performing. "I trained an intern for 6 months," I said. "Taught him everything, every system, every client, every shortcut I spent 5 years learning the hard way. Last week, they promoted him to senior operations manager, my boss, at double my salary." The words came out flat, clinical. He didn't react, just watched me. "I spent my weekends building systems he takes credit for. I stay late fixing his mistakes, and when management needed someone to praise, they chose him, the face, not the brain." 22nd floor, 25th. "What did you do?" he asked. I stopped. I looked at my reflection in the mirrored wall. Small, tired, fading. "I sent an email this week, said I'd only be doing the work I'm actually paid to do. You should have seen the panic." "Good." I blinked. "Good?" "You drew a boundary. Most people wait until they've burned out completely." "I think I'm already there." He tilted his head slightly. "What industry?" "Consulting, operations strategy, client retention, systems optimization." "Which firm?" I told him. Something shifted in his expression. Not surprise exactly, more like recognition. "And this intern," he said carefully, "Noah Chen." I stared at him. "You know him?" "I know of him. I saw him downstairs, holding court with the senior partners. That's his specialty, looking like he belongs." 35th floor, 38th. "Here's what I don't understand," the man said. "You built the systems. You maintained the client relationships. You did the work. Why didn't they promote you?" "Because I'm the engine." The words tasted bitter, and engines belong under the hood where no one sees them. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "A man who steals a crown usually forgets that the crown is heavy. He's going to drop it, Freya." Hearing my name in his voice felt startling, intimate. "The only question," he continued, "is who's going to be standing there to catch it." The elevator chimed. 40th floor. The doors slid open to reveal the rooftop gala, open air, string lights, the city sprawling below like scattered stars. He stepped out first, then stopped, held the door with one hand, turned back to look at me. "Don't leave yet," he said. "I want to see how you answer a few more questions." He offered his hand. I hesitated, then took it. His grip was warm, steady. He led me toward a private table near the edge of the rooftop, away from the crowd. Table 12. And for the next hour, I would realize that what felt like a conversation was actually the most important job interview of my life. Table 12 sat in the corner of the rooftop, away from the music, away from the crowd, positioned where you could see everything, but no one could hear you. The table number was crisp and white against dark wood. Reserved. The stranger pulled out a chair for me. I sat. He didn't sit across from me. He sat adjacent, close enough that I could still smell the cedar wood and leather. "So," he said, setting down his drink, "tell me about your work." I blinked. "My work?" "Your actual work, not what's on your LinkedIn, what you actually do." I hesitated, then started talking. I told him about the legacy database architecture, the client retention algorithms, the reconciliation systems that no one else understood because I'd built them in the margins of my job description. He listened, asked questions, sharp questions. If a firm's legacy database was failing and the new management didn't have the admin password, how long until the infrastructure collapses? I didn't hesitate. 3 weeks, maybe 4 if they're lucky. I leaned forward. The system runs on automated processes that need manual override every 21 days. Without the password, the cache builds up, the reconciliations fail, and the client data starts corrupting. By week 4, you're looking at compliance violations. And if they tried to rebuild from scratch, 6 months minimum, and they'd lose every client relationship in the process because no one documented the exceptions, the custom workflows, the why behind the system. His eyes narrowed slightly, not in suspicion, in interest. "You built in a fail-safe." "I built in accountability." I met his gaze. If they were going to treat me like I was replaceable, I wanted them to learn exactly what they were replacing. A smile ghosted across his face. "The emergency brake." The emergency brake. He picked up his glass, swirled the amber liquid inside. Around us, I noticed people glancing over, not at him, at me, at the woman sitting at table 12. "Walk me through the Davidson strategy," he said. So I did. I explained the 3-point presentation structure, the bullet point rules, the psychological timing of when to present risk versus reward. I talked about Mrs. Chen's quirks, about the Kellerman proposal, about the difference between what management thought was working and what was actually keeping the firm afloat. My brain was firing on all cylinders for the first time in months. I felt alive. Movement in my peripheral vision. Noah. He was walking toward our table, scotch in hand, that practiced smile on his face, ready to network, to insert himself into the conversation with the big fish I'd somehow landed. The stranger didn't even look at him. He raised one hand, a subtle, dismissive gesture, without breaking eye contact with me. Noah stopped mid-stride, stood there for 3 seconds, maybe 4, then turned and walked away. I watched him retreat into the crowd, his shoulders tight, his face flushed. The woman he managed was holding court with a titan, and he'd just been dismissed like a waiter interrupting dinner. The stranger set down his glass. "You're overqualified for your own life, Freya." The words landed heavy. "You've been playing a small game because you were loyal to small people, but Monday morning, the game changes." He stood. I stood with him automatically. "What happens Monday?" I asked. "A board meeting, 9 a.m. He adjusted his cuff. "Get some sleep. You're going to need your energy." "Wait," I started, but he was already walking away, disappearing into the crowd like smoke. I stood there, alone at table 12, my heart pounding. I realized I'd never asked his name. I looked down at the table. His gala invitation card lay face down next to his empty glass. I flipped it over. The embossed text caught the light. "Chairman of the Board, Global Venture Capital Group." Below that, smaller text. "Majority Stakeholder, Recent Acquisition, Sterling and Cross Consultancy." My firm! He wasn't a guest. He was the new owner, and I just confessed everything. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't need to, because I knew that Monday morning, the ghost was finally coming back to haunt them. Monday morning arrived cold and sharp. The office had a different energy, controlled panic disguised as professionalism. People spoke in hushed voices. Eyes darted toward the elevators. Word had leaked that the chairman of Global Venture Capital was arriving for an unannounced audit. I walked in at 8:55 a.m. Sandra was pacing near the conference room. Martin Cross stood beside her, sweating through his shirt despite the aggressive air conditioning. Noah sat at the head of the table, laptop open, his hands trembling slightly as he clicked through files. He looked up when I passed. "Freya, wait." I stopped, didn't turn around. "I need the password for the legacy client database. I can't access the Kellerman files." "That sounds like a senior management issue, Noah." I kept my voice pleasant, professional. "I'm just a supporter, remember?" His face went white. "Freya, please, this is serious. He's going to ask about—" "I'm sure you'll figure it out." I walked to my desk at the back of the room. "You're very innovative." The elevator chimed at exactly 9 a.m. The doors opened. He stepped out. Not in a tuxedo this time, a dark suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, the kind of suit that didn't need to announce its price because everyone already knew. The room went silent. Sandra rushed forward, her smile brittle and bright. "Mr. Castellano, welcome. We're so honored." He walked past her, didn't acknowledge Martin's outstretched hand, walked straight to the head of the conference table where Noah sat frozen. "Stand up," Castellano said quietly. Noah stood. Castellano took the seat, didn't sit back, leaned forward, hands clasped on the table. "Show me the Davidson projections." Noah's fingers fumbled across the keyboard. "Of course, just give me 1 second." He opened a file. Wrong one. Closed it. Opened another. The spreadsheet loaded. Red error messages flooded column E. The reconciliation formulas were broken. The data was corrupted. Noah's face drained of color. There must be, I can fix this." "How long have you been senior operations manager?" Castellano asked. 1 week. "How long did you train under Freya Moss?" 6 months. "And in 6 months, you never learned how to run a basic reconciliation without errors?" Silence. Noah looked at me, desperate, pleading. I looked at my nails. Castellano turned in his chair, looked directly at me. "Freya, you told me in an elevator that this ship was sinking because the architect was being ignored." Every head in the room swiveled toward me. "Come to the head of the table," he said. "Show me the real numbers." I stood, walked slowly to the front of the room. My heels clicked against the floor, steady, deliberate, final. Noah moved aside without being asked. I sat down, pulled the laptop toward me, opened the legacy database with my credentials, the ones Noah never thought to ask for, pulled up the real files, the clean ones, the ones I'd maintained every weekend for 3 years. The Davidson projections loaded perfectly, no errors, no red flags. I walked him through the numbers, the revenue forecasts, the risk assessments, the client retention strategy. Castellano listened, asked 3 questions, sharp technical questions that proved he understood exactly what he was looking at. Then he leaned back. Noah Chen, you're reassigned to junior analyst, effective immediately, salary adjusted accordingly. If that's unacceptable, HR will process your resignation by end of day. Noah's mouth opened, no sound came out. Castellano turned to Sandra and Martin. I want a full audit of HR promotion records and salary disparities over the last 2 years on my desk by Wednesday, with explanations. Sandra's face went sheet white. Sir, I can assure you, Wednesday. The word landed like a gavel. He stood, pulled a folder from his briefcase, set it in front of me. Your new contract, Miss Moss. Partner, equity included, salary commensurate with your actual value to this firm, not your tolerance for being undervalued. I stared at the folder. You weren't a ghost, Freya. You were the only one holding the walls up. It's time you owned the building. The scent of cedarwood and leather drifted over me as he leaned closer. Sign it, he said, then fire anyone you want. He left the room. The door clicked shut behind him. I sat there, contract in front of me, the entire office holding its breath. Noah was still standing against the wall, his face slack with shock. Sandra and Martin looked like they'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. I picked up a pen, clicked it once. The sound echoed in the silence. I signed my name. Then I looked up, met Noah's eyes. Pack your desk, you have an hour. 3 months later, the firm had a new name, Moss and Castellano Strategy Group. I kept my office, the one with the worn-down chair and the coffee-stained mug, but now the door had my name on it in gold lettering. Noah found work at a smaller firm. I heard he lasted 6 weeks before they let him go for performance issues. Sandra and Martin both resigned during the audit, quietly, without severance. And me? I still arrive early. I still know every client's quirks. I still fix the things no one else sees. But now when I do it, people say thank you and mean it. Because I'm not a ghost anymore. I'm the architect. And this time, I own the blueprint. Stories like Freya's happen every day in silence. I pour my heart into writing these because I believe no one should feel invisible in their own life. If this story moved you, or if you've ever felt like a ghost in your own career, please subscribe and hit the like button. It's the only way YouTube knows these stories matter. Sharing this video might be the elevator moment someone else needs to hear today. Please don't let this story stay in the dark.